Hunter's Books, formerly Hunter's Books and Apparel. And we've recently learned, getting together our live stream, which for our official Twitch, we put this together. But we just recently found out that this was our 10th anniversary inside of the business. And we just decided, and I talked to our friends over at Gen Con. I'm like, hey, how would you feel if a bunch of old fuddy-duddies talk about, our journey through the hobby industry and what it felt like to kind of, start at the explosion of the hobby space and move all the way up into 2020 today. And they were like, sure.
Like, fine.
Like,
who canceled all? Okay, good.
Yeah, we cleaned the slate so that we could sit here and talk to you today. Now, full disclosure, I know there's probably going to be some people, especially out there in the wee hours of the Gen Con Twitch, who are like, oh, old fuddy-duddies, what are you, like 20? I've been in the industry for 40 years. You're right. We are not that old. And as far as the hobby industry goes, we acknowledge that we were not at Lake Geneva when Gen Con started. At the same time, we felt like it was a pretty awesome milestone for us to be able to reach a decade of working in the space, and not only just like, oh, okay, we've survived, but been able to make some leaps and bounds as a business. And one of the things we're hoping to talk to you about today, and one of the reasons we want to chat today, is just to kind of let you know that like journeys like this do exist. We spent a huge part of our nights and weekends trying to make this company survive, and we just want to kind of share the story so that maybe it inspires one of you to start your own company and chase your own dreams. Because damn, Chris, did you think that we were going to be, Gen Con 2020 sitting in a studio spot with all these games and making stuff?
If I said yes, would you say I was a liar?
I would say you're a fat liar is what I'd say.
No, it's here. I'll be honest. And if this is anything to talk about when it comes to someone who wants to kind of follow in the footsteps of another company, be ours or somebody else, is that, you got to look ahead if you want to see where everything's going and kind of course correct if need be. So if I'm being a little bit flippant, well, yeah, we had to, but like I would be lying if I said I knew what we'd be like specifically. Oh yes, clearly 10 years would be fine. I didn't know, but I do know the things that we are doing, the nature of them was actually something that we've always kind of been pushing towards. The company was never about to push a single game. It was about to do whatever games we wanted to. And guess what?
Yeah.
More or less
and that was the thing. We wanted to, especially starting out, we just wanted to make games that we wanted to play in. And for those of you who are like, well, who the hell are you? And what the hell are you talking about? What games are you talking about? Back in 2010, we put out our first title, Outbreak Undead, when Entrepreneur's Alley was still just a brand new thing. And then since then, we've put out games like Kids on Bikes, Teens in Space, Kids on Brooms, the most recent addition to the Powered by Kids on Bikes line. We put out sci-fi versions of Outbreak, Deep Space. We put out both of Spencer Stark's games, Icarus, which was a little dice stacking game that was a storytelling game, as well as the very recently announced Alice is Missing. And then, our Altered Carbon RPG, which just kickstarted in the spring and is now delivering here very shortly.
I said the file's about 20 minutes ago.
Yes.
That's what I've been doing.
And just so you understand too, like Chris and I, we started this company, I'm going to keep saying it over and over again, but like 10 years ago, but we've always been kind of two different sides of a coin. Chris he's our head of development. He's been kind of the man behind the computer, making things both look beautiful and then also doing the game design. And for years, I've just been the schmuck trying to sell, just making sure that we were actually actively participating as a business in the hobby instead of just living in anonymity and obscurity. So,
well, you've done a good job of that. Obviously, else we wouldn't be here. I'm glad we've found other people to develop stuff because I'm only one guy. And I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I'll be the first to tell you that as far as the things I make.
And that's okay, because that's the whole point. You're not a single company. You're not a company of one. Like that's the thing. We're especially no longer a company of one. We were for years because we could only afford to not pay ourselves.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like, how much do we want to impoverish ourselves? How much do we want to take a second job for no money for
Yeah.
half a decade?
It was a second job for no money. There was
Yeah.
so much of that, so many nights and weekends. I worked so many different random jobs in LA, but would spend every moment in which I wasn't grinding at whatever work in order to make sure that we, I think one of my favorite stories is I was working at an animation studio, a real small tinky dink place, working on Time Turkeys at the time at Real Effects. And I was an assistant editor over there, and it was a fine job and I liked it. And I thought maybe I wanted to be an editor for my life. Spoiler alert, I did not want to be an assistant editor for the rest of my life. But I had access to a sound booth. And so when we were waiting for a render late one night, I went to one of our production managers who also had to be there to manage us while we were doing it. I'm like, hey, would you record a radio spot for my zombie RPG? And he's like, yeah, sure, man. And we hopped into a booth and I recorded like a 20-second spot and then a minute spot. And then we gave that to our buddy, Casey Wayland, and he put it in front of his podcast of We're Alive,
Yeah.
Which didn't hurt.
No, it didn't. I think the funny thing is about that we've had the longest courtship in history with We're Alive in particular, because we came out around the same time. Outbreak Undead First Edition was advertised in their first season, if I remember correctly. And then fast forward, I'm skipping several steps between then and now.
Well, we'll talk about those steps right before we do our first giveaway, so don't worry about it.
Okay. So you not wanting to go into that story, or
no? Please get into it. I want to.
I don't have as first-hand knowledge as you do, but honestly, what ended up happening is that we went our separate ways. We were still kept in contact. We were still advertising with them, and then at some point in time, we intersected on a Alpha produced show called We're Alive Frontier, which
that's right. Yeah, back when GNS still had their Alpha platform, and we managed to find a way to bring Casey Wayland as an intellectual property owner of this cool zombie podcast and merge it with our zombie RPG Peanut Butter, and we made a pretty cool show.
Yeah, 2 seasons in fact, and I think Jurgen offered, not to get too much into the details of it, but we had to there were just some issues with the third production wise. I just didn't want to sell the show short. There was some.
Yeah, no, there was. I don't mind. People ask about it all the time.
Okay.
Season 1 is currently the only one that's on YouTube right now. Season 2 was an alpha. I still don't know why they haven't put season 2 up on alpha at this stage. And for people who are interested, if you want to see a live play TTRPG show that had some really high production value with sets and jump scares, legitimate jump scares at the table, then you can go check it out because it has some fantastic stuff. And we didn't do a third season because we weren't going to get the same budget that we did for season 1 and season 2. And I didn't want this third season to look like the last episode of Neon Genesis Evangelion, right?
That's a reference.
That's a reference.
You know what? How can you scare Xander with just a sock puppet?
It was amazing.
You can't. You have to find a way because he was getting wise at the end. So you got to find more elaborate ways to terrify him on set.
It was so Xander Jean, if you aren't familiar, he is an amazing live streamer, and he was definitely on the show We're Alive Frontier, and he was jump scare candy, and I won't spoil it so that you won't get into it if you really do want to check it out. But really, just we built that set to scare the piss out of our players. And the best news is, and I know some of you might be saying, it's they were all in it. They were all 100% bought in, super excited, having a blast as a result of it. So it was kind of like having a Hollywood Halloween Horror Nights role-playing game with physical stunts and stuff. It was cool, and that was definitely a peak in our career, and it took so much time to get there because we really only started this thing as an exercise in being young and ambitious while in college, right?
Yeah.
You were literally just writing games for fun, right? And we were hey, that's fun.
Well, it's the funny thing about this, because I've always done my first actual, it was published in air quotes. The first thing I ever did was there's a game called Mordheim back in the day. It was a GW skirmish game, and I was a contributor on the largest supplement ever produced for that. sorry, of the largest fans of them, not the official ones, obviously, because no one knew who the hell I was. But in any case, so because I did that and I was doing so much stuff because I transferred into college, and halfway through as a sophomore, so I didn't get the whole freshman experience. So I didn't need a bunch of people who were new there.
Freshman experience, like it's so.
It makes a difference because I spent my nights mostly just in my sad little cinder block dorm room just writing stuff. And so I was writing games for more or less my own amusement. And I've been doing that. I've done that since I was in like high school. But when our friend Rob, who's one of our fraternity brothers, came to us like, hey, I want to run like a D20 modern zombie apocalypse game, I stepped as like, well, I guess what? I have something for you. I have this zombie survival game I made just for fun. And the irony is we never actually played it. We just talked about it as a game. And then we played it subsequently as beta testing. But the initial desire to just have like a little fun evening of just drinking beer and playing D20 Modern versus zombies, that event never materialized because I decided to step in with my own thing. Is like, hey, why don't we do this thing instead and not play that game? Instead, make one. And so,
and it was awesome. It was fun, and just to put some context around this, like in 2008, or I'm sorry, 2004, 2005, which is the time in which Chris is talking about. We were, no, you were a sophomore in 2016.
I don't
2006. Yeah, time is immaterial, is what it is. Sometime before 2007. Which is when I know we started this whole process. But we were the like zombie boom was for real. Like everyone has owned the Max Brooks's zombie survival plan, and the remake of Dawn of the Dead had just come out, and everyone was just like zombie fever. Everyone was talking about their zombie survival plan.
Yeah.
And so when Chris was like zombie survival RPG, we were like, we want to do that. That sounds awesome. And that's basically what occurred. Is we played it, and we didn't do too much with it until after I graduated in 2007, right?
Yeah, we didn't even start playing it until we both moved to Burbank, and that was our first series.
It was Glendale.
Sorry, Glendale.
Yeah, it was Glendale.
But so what ended up happening is that we did some market research, and to anyone listening, like, I want to make my own company, I want to make my own game, XYZ, do this thing.
Research.
Do market research, because that was the only reason we decided to go forward with it as a product. Because at that time, at that window of time that we were talking about, there was no other zombie survival game at all that was in print.
There were zombie games.
No. Zombie survival games specifically.
Specifically, that's what I'm saying. There was no like something that took survival horror and put zombies in it, because otherwise it was pretty much just all flesh must be eaten.
But that was out of print, though.
But that was out of print at the time before Eden Studios reprinted it.
Mm-hmm.
So we were like, wow, there's this one game and it's not printed, and it's very much like Kill the Zeds kind of a thing, where it's just like high body count. So like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, it was one of those things that I think, because we were putting our own money, I would say we borrowed it, but we still it was on us to pay it back. So whether or not we succeeded or failed was riding on our coattails entirely.
Yep.
So I would say that I don't think we would have had the courage to step forward on it if we knew that we were going to be contested in the markets. Like, oh, this company's been around. Who are we?
Right.
We wouldn't have had any of that sort of thing. So, but the thing is that we saw an opening in the market and we took it, and that's actually it sounds silly, but there's, even Spencer Stark, when he came to us with his first RPG idea, I shot it down. Like, there's no place for this to live in the market. And then what's he do? He comes back with Icarus, and it's amazing. So
yeah. And Spencer's story is particularly fun because we really did look at his first game and like, wow, this is a piece of junk.
I would say that there was no place in the market for it. Like,
That's
under
right.
what circumstances would you want to play it? It was a fine game, but who would buy it and why?
Yeah, because it was a bathtub system. It was just trying to encompass every single genre at the time. It didn't provide anything new. And then I gave him some guidance. Sorry, we're jumping ahead in the timeline a little bit.
Yeah, it's a mention, yeah. But still, it's still relevant because it shows you how important that is, because Icarus did extremely well. I don't think his first one would have, because
No.
because I stand by what I said. I don't think there was a place for it in the marketplace.
Yeah.
So you can design, and the nice thing about game design nowadays is that the options for POD are so vast, which did not really, when we started doing this, that
No, I
option
mean
was available to us.
drive through was a brand new thing.
But they,
Kickstarter did not exist when we
nope.
started our company. We had to take a loan out from my godmother just to print the first book, and your parents, if I remember correctly.
We spread the love around.
Yeah,
we paid them all. They're all paid back, so they're fine.
They're all. I mean, they're definitely all paid back. They're fine. They were paid back years ago. They were paid back actually shortly after our first year, because that first Gen Con, we were elated and surprised that we were able to sell. We had no idea how many books we should bring, and we took care of getting it in there, and we learned a lot about just how expensive it is to attend a convention. But even then, we were impressed, if not like aghast, at just like how many copies we were able to sell. And we were so like, wow, this is so cool. Where like people are buying the book, that we very quickly, at that first Gen Con, again, that first Gen Con in 2010, while pretty much everybody was selling at the booth, I was running around literally like shaking hands and kissing babies to everyone at the convention, and still managed to find a way to get us a publisher in that first year, or at least the connection to start a relationship with a publisher, right. Which was random. And that was with Studio 2 with Jim Searcy, who was awesome and totally took a chance on a new company, and was very upfront with us about just kind of how the distribution model works. And this isn't a story we often tell, but I'm happy to say it. It's like, when we found out exactly how much distribution buys books for retail, we found out that the cost of our first print run was so expensive that we were actually losing money on every single copy that was bought in retail. We were not even getting paid back for the cost of the book in that first year, but we decided to do it anyway because we knew we needed to be in stores to be relevant.
Well, we and this is why Jim's a good guy, is that he basically restructured the time when he was able to take it once we had made enough back so we could sustain ourselves. So basically he said, yeah, talk to me again in a couple months. Once you've kind of done your sales, when you've done your direct sales and you kind of run your course at that, then we'll talk about stores. And then we thought that was a fine idea, because no one would buy us, unless they came to us directly, which happened from time to time.
Yeah.
No one came to us outside of a distribution model that we were provided by Jim. So that once we hit that plateau with our sales, okay, let's talk to Jim now, and he was willing to wait for that, which is why he's such a good guy. He's cool like that. But so we had to, we were competing with our own property, which is weird to think about. But when you start talking about retail versus direct, these are things you never thought you had to worry about, because you have a finite supply and you're desperately wanting to sell as many of your own product before somebody else buys it, and you don't get as much because you have to hit certain margins in order to be successful and have another run, and so on and so forth. But it was just a lot to do the first year because it was so damned expensive.
So damn expensive. And it was just one of those things where we were all fresh out of college in the middle of the writer's strike in the entertainment industry. So it's not like we could bankroll this company. We were all putting the sweat equity into it just to make sure that we were doing it. But before I get into those details more, this is supposed to be a giveaway stream. And I would be an awful human being if I didn't actually give away some stuff to the people who are listening to us rambling at the moment. So I think the first thing we're going to do, and this is very relevant, and we're going to kind of go the most relevant all the way to like back in time kind of the situation. But the first thing we're going to give away is going to be 5 PDF copies of our just released Alice is Missing. Like, it's only in PDF right now. Chris literally sent the thing off to the printers last week. We just uploaded it to DriveThru to deliver to backers, and it's currently in place. So if you did not get in on the Alice is Missing Kickstarter, which blew us all away, by the way, we had no idea it was going to perform the way that it was going to be, then stay tuned, because we're going to give away 5 copies of it right now. Our amazing marketing associate, Christian Boy, that's O, that's 3 O's, is going to be in there as one of our mods, and he's going to do a giveaway right now to give away like five drive-through PDFs of Alice is Missing for all of you. So cheers. Thank you for everyone sticking around and listening to us talk about the olden times. So, right, you can anytime you want, Christian, go ahead, go for it. But Alice is Missing was fun. We literally just 2 days ago did our first live premiere of it on our official Twitch channel, which we'll get into like the most recent stuff soon. But like the little family that we've built for hunters very recently has been both like liberating and also a little like, well, I don't know. Like we did the Hunters Entertainment stream, like where we talked about, we did it's called Hunters Gathering, in which we kind of did an interview with all of the people who are now involved in the company. And it was really like kind of awe-inspiring to find out like all these people who were just so excited to be involved in having our stuff. And Chris and I, like literally, we just assumed no one gave a crap for years, right? We were wow. When people continued to buy it even after Gen Con, you know, but it happened, right?
Well, I mean, the first year you were marketing like an animal. So that was not without some work on your part. And I was just making sure I kept up on our Free Content Friday stuff, because I think the one thing we knew we couldn't do was put out another book in a hurry, but we could easily do a routine delivery of free content. As long as we kept that hitting it, then that will at least show that we're developing more things, keeping the fans engaged, and taking suggestions at times. But you know, we had to not to go too far into the future. We got our teeth kicked in with Outbreak Deep Space, and we kind of lost the train with Free Content Friday. But it's back now. You know, we've been doing it now because we promised it would be, and that's been a lot. Now we have more games than just Outbreak. We have a lot of other things that we do. It's a fun little thing to do.
And Free Content Friday, for those of you who may not know, it's a thing we do in our company. It's a thing we do where we give away a piece of free content on the first Friday of every single month. So if you've, subscribed to our newsletter, or if you followed us online, or if you've bought the actual product on drive-through, you literally get a free piece of content on the first Friday of every single month. And it's just our way to just say like, hey, content is king. It's fun to keep getting new stuff,
I mean, I really just brought it to be like a historical reference of what you can do. And again, if you're listening to this because you want to know what you can do to make your own company grow, you got to look at what strengths. You have to analyze what your strengths are and your weaknesses are. Obviously, that's pretty trite, but let me make it specific so you know what I'm talking about. When you have little operating capital like we did, we had a lot of traction on the product we had, but you couldn't follow it up with something quickly. You had to follow it up with something small that was exclusive, that only you could do. And because we were talking about, do we offer discounts? There's a no, because then you're basically fighting on the turf of online retailers, because they will win that war. They will win that war. Absolutely undercut you as much as possible because they can. They have no skin in that game. So the only thing we had control over completely, absolutely, was content. We were the only ones who could make unique stuff for our game, and so we did it. And so if you're looking to find out what you can do, find out what you can do better than anybody else, or and then hit that as hard as you can and then own it. And so when you have the ability to expand, you can either leave that behind if it no longer works for you, or have it grow like we did in the direction we have, with have it encompass more properties to make it more useful for multiple people, not just us.
And even when, like, in the very early stages of Free Content Friday, when barely anybody had participated inside of it, and our first Free Content Friday was essentially distributed through drive-through, and we only promoted it on our on our forum, which I mean forum literally in the like post, we used like vanilla posting like 2010 2011 kind of BBS style forum, which is where we discovered Alex for the first time, because we'll get to Alex in a second. But the idea is that that's the only way we promoted it. And we were like, 100 people downloaded it. Yes. We were super stoked. And now on drive-through, the last time we checked, like, I think it was something like anywhere from 16 to 20,000 people have downloaded Free Content Friday, which is an inflated number because it's free, right? So it's not like any of those are free content on drive-through isn't tracked the way that paid content is, or even pay what you want content. But
Right.
still, the fact that that many people even came in just to like see what the hell's on there. And if I'm being honest, and all for all of you out there who are subscribers to Free Content Friday, thank you for doing it. You're getting free content, but we also have an opportunity to let you know when we're putting out new stuff. You would, if you had backed Kids on Bikes and you got some free content around Outbreak Undead, you know, maybe that'd be fun for you, and maybe that would be interesting enough for you to want to go over and check out that game, you know. Or the people who came in for Overlight, which is
Yeah.
one of Renegade's games that we do Free Content Friday with. If you're like, okay, well, I'm a Renegade or I'm a Overlight fan, and you want to move over and check out some of our Kids on Bike stuff, hey, you know, it's all in one package for you to hang out.
Yeah.
So
So I mean, this when you look for, because I mean, Ivan and I say we come from different backgrounds when our professionally speaking, and that's true to a large extent because I'm more of a production person, he's more of a marketing, and AV, personality guy because
business
king of it
pig.
all. But
Actually no. So Chris is the business pig. I'm the marketing duck. I just
there you go.
quack and I
Fair enough.
quack until people listen.
There
So
you go. But honestly, both of our backgrounds are in marketing. So because I mean, even in our professional fields, like out of the game space, we were working for other studios in the marketing department. I mean, production for you mostly too.
right.
So but like I worked at MGM TV marketing, and back at the time I was working there, that's all they had. They didn't have The Hobbit. They didn't have the fact that they were pushing another Bond movie in like 10 years was a big deal. So they weren't doing much at the time. So I was working with the TV department to do marketing. So I was very
For the
entrenched
record,
with
by the
that
way,
whole what.
this guy put all of the posters up for 007 when Netflix was fresh and young, or when
Oh
it was
yeah.
going into digital and streaming. He made a bunch of posters for things that had zero assets in his
Yeah,
MGM
not
days.
not so much James Bond, because they thankfully Dan Jack is pretty good about keeping tallies on what's done. Dan Jack's the company that owns the James Bond property, not MGM. But when Netflix was new, they were newer, I should say. They had a bunch of back catalog stuff they had no art for. They had maybe a couple screenshots from the show because this was like a TV show from the 50s. No key art whatsoever. I had to basically make it. Back then, I was not that good of a designer, and I guess you could say I'm not now. But it's a matter
Forged in
of
the fires of MGM and Netflix comes Chris De La Rosa, not only a game designer but an avid graphic designer now. So
well, I mean, I was there as a marketing coordinator, and I kind of learned the graphic design on the job. But that's the thing, though. We both, Ivan and myself, learned stuff from our day jobs that we kind of gleaned. We were basically learning on
yeah.
other people's dime, really. And so we were basically taking what we knew there, and then we brought it into our company. And we really went into the high gear when I actually worked for an actual publishing company. And then I basically kept all the context there, and we're all obviously on good terms.
No, it was so crazy because you're right. Every job that you and I had in the last 10 years, we took whatever skills we learned, like you said, on other people's money. We were getting paid to learn from them, but we applied it to our business. And actually, I thought about that pretty recently. It's like you can kind of see what our development stage was based on the type of jobs that we were doing at the time. Like I said,
that's true.
I was at an animation suite, so we made radio ads. You
Wow.
know, it's silly. It's just
And we were
so
doing tons of marketing for online when I was doing that for Hot Tub Time Machine or whatever.
right.
So that's the kind of stuff that we did because it ran parallel to our day jobs in many respects. And so, I mean, which is good because thankfully we're working in industries that were complementary. So it wasn't like I'm doing my day job as an accountant and then I'm going to go back here and then do this game design. I mean, actually, I
No,
guess you can have some number crunching, have that be kind of part of the design
we
too.
did some number crunching, but we didn't start doing serious number crunching until we brought JB on. Bless his soul.
You know what I mean, though.
Yeah, I know, but it's true. But that was one of the things too. It was we knew at some point when we were starting to grow that there was some major weaknesses that the company had, and we needed to fill those with competent people. And one of the things we definitely learned is that transparency is key. Like you just need the community. You just need to say, hey, this is the situation. You know, we really want you on board. We really want to do this stuff, but here's where we are right now as a company, and we want to grow and we want to go with it. And if you're into it, then it's here. but I've at least learned that the last thing that I will ever do is drag someone kicking and screaming into a job that they might be overqualified for but don't want to do, because you can teach skill but you can't teach passion.
Right. I mean, that also depends on the kind of job you do. I mean, it's good to like the
Yes.
industry working, because I loved working in entertainment. Technically, we still both do. Um, but there's also a measure of like what of this do you take that's of any real value? What skills can you learn? And I think when it comes to Outbreak, because there's a bit of a guilt complex with me when I like doing something like, what could I be doing that's actually more important right now? And obviously downtime's important too, but you always get that word, is like, what could I be doing right now that's maybe more useful? And so a lot of the guiding philosophy of Outbreak Undead is that you could actually the test your zombie survival plan was actually you did that as legitimately as possible,
Oh
because
yeah.
we want to make sure that if you are playing the game and you're running your plan, that it actually would have some sort of real world implications, that you're testing yourself as a character. You could
Yeah.
make yourself into character stats, which has its own psychological things we had to
That
deal with. But at the same time, you could feel like you're making a positive change, and said that not so much like for zombies specifically for obvious reasons, but mainly maybe you're more prepared for an earthquake. If that were to happen,
Yeah, by preparing for a zombie apocalypse, you prepared for an earthquake as a byproduct. The CDC did the CDC actually did that, where they were like, by preparing yourself, like they just did like a joke, like this is what the CDC would do if there was ever a zombie apocalypse. And it was a marketing scheme for
I
them to
remember
try
that.
to get people to have more disaster preparedness. And we felt the same way. We're like, hey, you know what? And Chris, do you want to tell the story about the guy who came to us like 1 year and then came to us afterwards and told us about his game with his friends? Do you remember this story?
That I don't think I was there. I don't think that's my story to tell.
Okay. Well, two things then. I'll just do two super early Outbreak stories because these are the things that like kept us going. As far as like, wow, wow, okay, cool, we're doing this and this is affecting people. The first one was is that when we got a random Facebook post, 2011, like first year, couple of years we were out, in which some uh, some active military, a fan of ours, had his wife ship out Outbreak Undead to um, his base in Afghanistan when the war in the Middle East was still going on, and we got a post on Christmas Day of him running a game of Outbreak with like all of his other base members, and literally they're all like this, like they're all just like dejected taking the photo, and he's there with the book, open it with his like little ad hoc GM screen with just the biggest grin on his face, and they just tagged this like, just ran Outbreak Undead on base, everyone's dead, you know. And he was so happy, and I was like, oh my god, this game made it all the way to Afghanistan, and there's this active military who is playing it and having a blast. I'm like, wow, okay, these are the people who are honestly really enjoying the game and who are qualified. If I'm being honest, if they're playing themselves as characters, they're the
Right,
most
obviously.
qualified of any of us to do it. And then the second one was, we had a gentleman who bought the game. I think it was like year two of the con at Gen Con, and then year three happened, and year two came up. I'm sorry, I should specify because this is important to the story. He came up and he was like, "Hey, I want to buy the game." He grabbed it. He was a heavier set man, and just kind of little stocky, but a little shorter, but very heavy set. And then year three came about, and he returned to us, and he was like, hey dude, I just want to let you know I bought the game last year, and it did a lot for me. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, my name's so and so, and what happened was is I bought the game. We all made ourselves as a character, but all of my friends are either active military or are like large prepper guys, and they wanted me to play with them. I wasn't running the game, but after doing my create yourself as a character, I kind of realized just how useless I was and how bad my physical stats were. So in the process of playing, going through the campaign with his friends, he like went out to the shooting range with his buddies. He started working out with his friends on a regular basis. And all of this was under the guise of like, I'm going to get your stats better so that you can play in the game with us. And when I saw him, I didn't realize it was the same guy who bought it years ago, but he had lost 40 pounds. He had built like another 20 pounds of muscle and was just like a very fit dude. And he was like, you not only did you like save my friendship with my friends, but like got me closer to my friends, but like I'm a better person physically and mentally because of this game. And we were like, whoa, dude, like, whoa, that's too much for us.
I remember hearing that story secondhand because I was not there. I was running games, and I came back, and everyone was kind of like on in the afterglow of that whole thing, and it's like, oh, you know what happened? And they told me, it's like, that didn't happen. It's like, come on. How can anyone care? Because there's a bit of like, come on, people don't care. It's a game. But at the same time, you do, when you make it with this in mind, you got to understand the fallout is that people will take it seriously. And there's a warning in the book for a very good reason, because sometimes it
Yeah,
can go very badly.
yeah.
But as we've seen in beta testing, which I never thought to do, is like, oh, maybe we should put a warning in this book because
Yeah,
that's
we
really
learned
heinous.
we learned that too in the process. We had another story. It was actually one of our GMs who has contributed for Free Content Friday, and he said the first time he ran the game, he did run a scenario in which like he in order to make it so that his family was not part of the equation, like his GM basically killed his wife and his animals as a result of the game, and it like got him in such a big way that he thought about it and like went into full preparedness mode for the process. And we're like, wow, okay, yeah, we didn't, I mean, we probably should have known, but we need to put a warning in front of this, because this is the very early stage of like when people were talking about lines and veils and X cards. Like, all this was all before like lines and veils and X cards
Yeah.
and a lot of the safety tools that you see in RPGs now, when we are like, wow, like our modern survival horror game is having a strong mental effect on people that we care about, who are our customers. We need to let them know that this is stuff that can happen in the game, you
Yeah,
know.
and I think, and because my background's actually in psychology, I'm very, very keen on making sure that there is a certain amount of like distance between, and so there are tools that kind of developed organically just by virtue of the kind of game it was. And I think that was probably to his credit of actually that was done with a bit of consciousness on both sides of things. Yes, you can do this too. Also, tweak your survival plan to make it better.
Mhm.
Also, there are ways to make it so you're just playing a game and you don't care. And I
Yeah,
think that's the important part too. Is that because I'm the kind of person who's like, I'm a, I'm a bit of a survivalist guy myself. I live in LA anymore for a reason.
you live in
Um,
Skyrim. let's just
I
let's
live in
just not
Skyrim,
dress it
and
up. Yeah.
aside from the dragons that attack me from time to time, it's really nice. But anyway, but sorry. But so when you develop it, you got to develop it on both sides of things. If you're going to go for the realism angle, which we did, we got to make sure that it's couched with like also non-real elements to it that you can actually fall back on, as a psychological cushion to kind of give yourself some distance so you can actually enjoy it. Because really, the situation is like, and it's a lot like, and I think we talked about this before, like, the one universe that every fan of it does not want to be in is the 40K universe. Like, you don't want that to be real. I think I think we talked about the zombie stuff. Like, I don't think anyone actually wants that to happen because it's heinous.
Right.
So I think it's one of those things that you talk about it and you play with it, but there's a certain distance between you and it. But you don't want it to be real, because then
No.
you are talking about your friends and family and your pets and
Yeah.
stuff.
and
Yeah,
and sometimes that's like, and sometimes that's okay because if it helps you learn a little bit about yourself, then why not? That was kind of and we haven't really talked about this too much, but like we've always kind of rid this line between super serious and super cheeky. Like
mm,
our first slogan was, your zombie survival plan will fail. You're right. Which is both
still
like,
is.
it's both serious and also both like, really, like, you're gonna shove it in my face, like, yeah, no,
It's
come
kind of
on.
like your favorite band sucks shirt.
Yeah.
And like, hey, they don't suck. Oh
Hey.
wait, oh wait,
Yes.
that's anyone. That's any
and we
band.
and we did end up putting an asterisk on it on the nape of the neck on the t-shirts. Like, there's an asterisk, your zombie survival plan will fail, asterisk, like we can help with that, and then our website,
Yeah.
onto it. I'm going to stop by real quick because we're about 10 minutes over on our next giveaway, and it is, you guys have been listening for so long, and I'm really very appreciative of you continuing to listen to us ramble. And I hope that it's not just the only people who are in chat or the people who would have been in Twitch anyway. If you are, we love you too. You're great. Thank you for hanging out. But we want to give away a wooden Icarus box as well too. So for the Icarus Kickstarter, it's an exclusive. We had Dogmite Games make these really awesome like wooden boxes to hold the cards, the dice, all of the little monument that's inside of it, all these cool things. And it's a beautiful box that you can use to keep so many stuff inside of it. And we do have some left over. So we're perfectly happy to give away one of those, which Christian boy with 3 O's will thankfully give away right now. It's funny because Christian, of all of our, and he's our marketing associate. He's like a wizard when it comes to social media. And I learned everything I know about Facebook ads from him. And he continues to kill it nowadays on all of our stuff. But Chris and I both met him when we were working at a Regulation A marketing company. And we both found him, and when we found out that he was going freelance, we're like, yoink.
Yeah, exactly.
And
the funny thing about that job was that because the running gag when we were both in college is the people who got comm majors were there for the college experience and not much else. But then we were in an office with a bunch of comm majors, and they're doing stuff like, that's so cool. That's a neat little marketing thing I never heard of. Yeah, they learned that while we were making fun of them. Maybe you don't know everything. But no, it's funny because like I kind of ate crow at that moment because I saw them just, well, what about this thing we can whack? And then they're just showing me all these little marketing widgets, these trackers that you can put in there, and like
we learned so much about the internet in that time with that firm. And it was definitely one of those things where we just had to like, what's the old saying? It's like, say yes, figure it out later. There was so much of us being like, we have no idea what's going on, but we're going to learn as much as we possibly can while going through this process. I'm going to be the first one to say that I was not right for that company, and I was eventually let go as a result of it. Chris stayed on for much later than I did, because his design work was just like making these companies look awesome. But I did not stay on long enough because I was such like, I was just such a rogue. I was just so like, I'm not, I'm going to do all these things, but I was so interested in what we were doing with our company that I didn't translate that same passion for their company as we did our company, down the road.
In your defense, it was also kind of an interesting place in the market because that whole, not to get out of talk about not game things, but Regulation A financing was really new at the time, so no one really knew what they were doing, and so the turnover was ludicrous.
It was ludicrous. Yes.
Yeah, like I think you were you were like go eventually, but you were not the first. You were not the first. So
no, and I wouldn't be the last either. So
no.
And the owners of that company, we still know very well, and we wish them the best because they're like just like us. They're continuing to pivot. As things come up, they continuing to pivot. But as owners of the company, they have stake in that. Just like us, we are owners of this company, and so we really want to surprise. We want to see it succeed. We want to see it do well, right?
Yeah.
And
that's the other thing is if you want to do little piece of advice, I guess, is that it's one thing to want what you want to make successful, but I've been more excited to see other people's stuff be made under our banner and see that become successful. It's like, I have a soft spot in my heart for Outbreak, obviously. It was the first game I wrote. I continue to support it, but I got a much bigger thrill seeing Spencer's stuff kind of just make it go through the motions and actually start to gain momentum and find its place in the marketplace. You want your friends to succeed, you want good people to do well, and that kind of thinking actually helps you a lot when you're looking for people who you want to support with projects in the future. It also helps you with who you hire and who you talk to, because there's a lot of new faces. I haven't met them all super well, but the ones I've met, I've always thought very highly of. And I feel very, very fortunate that we're in that position.
Yeah, it's nice. And, and it's just one of those things. We've kind of come up with this weird unofficial motto pretty recently, and I'm surprised it's taken this long, but it has taken bringing on more people in order to do it. It's like, good people and great games, right? We only
Yeah.
want to bring people who are good for the job, who are talented and fun to be around and who care, and that's something that you you would think by default it's like, oh, well, that's your friends, right? Your friends care about your work. That's not always the case. We learned very early in our career that your friends are not always the best employees, you know
No.
and we suffered financially and friendship wise for some of those bad decisions really early on. And now as a result, we're very good, or we at least we try, right? Everyone tries to be able to say, you know I respect the people who you bring on board, because they're people just like you and they have dreams and aspirations just like you, and there's no reason to treat them anything other than how you want to be treated. It's the golden rule, right?
Sure.
I'm a
But
beer in.
but no, but the thing is, it does inform the kind of games you make, because if you're all
Yeah.
kind of, because I mean, discipline is the art of doing something when it's not fun anymore. It definitely there's an element of that when it comes to design, because especially when you do books that are, and I love the heck out of design. I like writing, but 350 pages into a book, you're the least fresh set of eyes on that project. It gets kind of old, but you still got to do it. But on the flip side of that, if there isn't that initial push of enthusiasm to kind of make you feel like this is worth doing, then that doesn't happen either. So the stuff down the line doesn't occur. So what I'm saying is that when you're talking about someone who's got that burst of enthusiasm, you want people who can carry it through to the end, of course.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to do stuff when you're excited about it. Anyone can do that.
It's easy to start a project, but ending it's a bitch.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have like 2,000 points of models I haven't painted yet for 40K. That's on me. I mean,
that's on you. But you're not making money off your 2,000 points of models as well, too. That's the other part of this.
You know what? No, I am not, as a matter of fact. But it's the mentality behind it. It's the grocery cart return theory. There's no moral impetus for you to return the grocery cart, but if you do it and no one's watching you, that's the kind of person you actually are. And so I think there's a measure of that to that as well. But at the same time, it's not making us any money. Obviously, I brought that more of as a joke. But at the same time, the people we've brought on to do this, that, and the other have all been very diligent at following something through, and that's been very good to see someone who not only care about what they do, but actually work it to bring it to the next step and then ultimately to completion. So we're surrounded by people like that, which is very fortunate for us.
Because it is so easy to kind of fall into that trap where people just check in and check out for a paycheck, right? And we just do our best to try to not put ourselves in that position where people are just looking for a job. It took a while, right? We made a lot of games, we made a lot of choices. It's so funny because I had all these plans for bringing out some real stuff, and I do want to bring out the old crate, because I teased Chris about this earlier, but I dug into the back of my closet to find some like some of the like first 4 years of the company stuff. And I thought like I would see, if Chris had anything to say about some of the just crazy things that I found in this bin. So
I'm trying to remember all the stuff we've done early on, but it's been so long I actually don't even know what's going to be.
I'm going to tell you some of the stuff I don't remember either, man. It's like it's
so
pretty
it's just
crazy.
Full scorpions and you don't even know.
Yeah, it's actually just Black Emperor scorpions.
Oh, that's terrible. Why would you do that?
Why would you put scorpions inside of the thing? Okay, let's see. What's this one? Because I'm just kind of starting to you would think that I would plan ahead of this stuff, but I'm just rando pulling shit out of stuff out of here. But let's see what this giant. Oh my God, that's right. Okay, so Chris, do you remember this? This was the first map I made for Outbreak.
I don't remember that.
So this was an office building that I wrote with a ruler and a pencil, and it was an office building, office first floor, office second floor. I was not proficient enough in design to actually do this. And then here's the city that I drew by hand.
Oh, I remember that one.
by hand in order to basically like run my first game of Outbreak, which was just nuts. Oh man. And it was like, and I wrote them all down based on residential history. I basically played Sim City with paper. That's
Yeah,
what I did.
I remember that because I remember that was a lot of work for what was used very sparingly in the game.
We did. I think it was like like 3-hour game that we did, and then I never used it again.
Well, this is before Google Earth, which was a huge boon to our game's legitimacy because all you can do is
my gosh, Google Earth was amazing.
You could Google Earth your way through a scennario like nobody's business, and it was amazing.
Yeah, this was like Thomas Guide era stuff. So
hey, our company predates Square, so that's we were able to take credit card when that wasn't really a thing for newbies at the convention floor.
Yeah,
it was janky, but we got it.
Oh, here's another one. Here's this one's more recently recent, but like this is an invoice from Rothko for all of the backpacks that we got for the second edition. When we were like a wholesaler, I had to like make a wholesaler account so that we could buy.
Right.
How many of these?
I think 70.
Oh, 20. No, I had to buy 20 each. Yeah, no, it was like 100 backpacks that we had to buy so that we could stuff it filled with Outbreak and then send it off as part of our second edition.
Right.
Oh, and you'll appreciate this too. Here's a couple other good ones. Here's one of your first drawings from Outbreak, one of your first like sketches that you.
I'm not a good artist, by the way. Okay, let me just before you get into this, let me talk about another thing, leaning into your weaknesses.
Yeah.
As a developer, I'm not the worst artist, but I'm certainly not game designer quality for the most part. I mean, it certainly wasn't at the time. You could make the case I am now, but that's another discussion. But our whole design philosophy, and I got the first edition right here. The book is full of drawings like this that I just did at work on a doodling. And so if you make it look like it was done on purpose, like the whole survival notebook, and someone actually reviewed it and made this point, and they got it spot on. It's like, this person's not the best artist, but they just happened to be there to see it. And I think that was actually the philosophy of the design, and it carried through the whole thing. So I think without having the most humongous budget for development, it made up for it in sincerity. And I think that was something that really carried it through, even when it certainly wasn't the best game by any stretch of the imagination, but it also wasn't the prettiest, but it felt like it belonged in the space that it was made for. And I think that was what really helped it survive when
it made it work, because we weren't, as a first time company who didn't have an art budget and needed to still have art because it's a book. We were like, okay, well, thank God we can default to Chris's chicken scratch drawings because it looked like a survivor's journal, and it really did like exist as a thing, you know. And I will say, and you remember this too, this is the GM screen, the first GM screen that I made for Outbreak as well too. That
it's fun, do some fun things with your green screen.
It's doing some crazy things with my green screen.
Oh goodness, so many memories. Look at that.
And then here's the so we have a thing called the SPEW AI, right? Strength, perception, empathy, will, and assessment
inventory.
And we knew that when we were going to first make this game, it's like, well, we have to play yourself as a character. So how do you determine your stats if you're going to play yourself as a character? This was a major marketing hook of us. We're like, okay, we need to do it so that you can play yourself as a character, to the point where we hired a web developer who made like a real crappy Flash early version of it. But before it was a crappy Flash version of the game, it was this circle the questionnaire sheet with stats on it, and we were doing math manually to determine stats.
It was rough, and I knew that would kill the game if we let it go out that way. I actually also pulled my my old professors, my old psychology professors, to help me develop this test, at least the operational definitions that carried it through. So it has some academic rigor more than not, but it's obviously not a psychological testing instrument. But it was developed again with some sincerity of the purpose. But once we thought, we're going to put this in the book, like, no, we can't, because then we're going to make a mistake. Then we're going to eat that cost on the page count. It's also going to be wrong because we'll do something wrong. It'll be 1,000 copies of this wrong thing we did. So we just basically said, okay, we could have to do it in an app, make it on a web develop, have it be on the website, and then
we paid out the nose for it. We paid out
Yeah.
the nose for that web developer, but we knew it was going to be something that had to happen. So
yeah.
Oh my God! Here's our first. This is back in when the Ennies, you had to submit a paper entry with each one of the books. This was when we submitted Outbreak Undead for the first year of the Ennies. Which, by the way, congratulations to Doug Lewandowski and Jonathan Gilmore for winning for Strange Adventures #1. We managed to pull another silver Annie this year. So yes.
Yeah, good job, guys.
Yeah, good for them. And then here's the first cloth playmat of one of the first versions of the second edition GM screen, which was just an early, like, someone just decided to print it on cloth for us because we did we end up doing cloth? Did we end up doing this is like cloth. So
it was like a mouse pad.
It was a mouse pad. It was vinyl. It ended up being vinyl. So
that was for second ed. That was not that. That's not that old.
No, this one's not that old. I think I just threw this in here because it's cool because it's cloth.
Yeah, it's cool. I think that might have been the sample they gave you.
Oh, that's right. There was a sample. Here, what's all this junk? These look like receipts.
Ooh, receipts, as you say.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I've literally spent the last, just for the record, like, this is another thing. When you start a company, you're like, oh, I can't wait. I'm going to be making games, going to do things. It's like my last 3 to 4 years operating this company, besides doing marketing, has been paying bills. Like, I have only very recently with our development of Ragnarok have I actually been able to get into the design seat again. But most of my job has been making sure that like solving problems and paying bills. So if you ever want to get into the game industry and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing game design, hire the person who does not want to do game design and just likes doing business, because they're going to be the ones who are going to keep you from doing game design. I, by default, ended up being that person until we brought in some more people who are smarter than me to help make sure that certain things go along on track. But
I mean, it was me at the beginning. It just shifted to you because we what was it that caused that shift? Anyway, no, but that baton's been passed a few times. Thankfully, for someone who's been willing to do it. But yeah, it was. I mean, there's a sole proprietorship under my name for a while, so I had to pay everything.
Yep, that's true. As soon as it became an LLC, then it kind of defaulted. So
we're running up against the end. We have another giveaway to do, or what's?
No. Christian literally just pinged me on Slack. He's like, "Yo, are we going to do another giveaway or not?" And I'm like, "Yes, we are." But we're rambling. So
sorry, guys.
So let some people ramble. Yes, we're going to give away a set of the Altered Carbon stealth dice, the polyhedral set. This is one of the early prototype ones from Level Up Dice, who made our stealth set, which is amazing. So cool. And here's what the actual production dice look like. These are some of the early prototypes we got, and as you can see, they are completely clear. They look like crystals. There's literally no light on them. You can't see any results on them at all, except when you shine a black light on them. And cameras are awful for this, and it's messing with my green screen hardcore. But as soon as you shine a black light onto them, you can actually see the dice results onto it. This was a Kickstarter exclusive that we offered through Altered Carbon. And when I say that, like, that's a full polyhedral set, it's a full polyhedral set, including the D20, which, by the way, when they glow under black light, it's amazing. But these are being shipped over from Level Up Dice right now as part of their Stealth Mach 3 set. And we're going to give away one of those right now because honestly, it's the only time you're really going to get it as part of this right now. So hopefully, again, you lucky people who are hanging out listening to us ramble will be able to get to enjoy that right now. I think I'm actually going to hop in chat so I can see who's going to get an opportunity to get this. So this is our big giveaway for the night, because this thing retails for $50 with the jewel case, $55.
I don't remember. Sorry, guys.
I know it's been a while. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
But they're cool.
Yeah, they're very cool.
What were you going to say, Stu?
Yeah, it works very well with the game system too, with how speed dice work. But there's no D20s in the game really, but we got that in there just in case we need it for something else. Because why not?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's a cool dice set, and
Mhm.
even though a D20 is not in the game, it's still cool. And that's actually one of the reasons we had the stealth tube of D6s, because because the stealth mechanic is 100% D6s. So we made a tube of D6s that were
The
part
speed
of it
mechanic
too. So
is
um,
D6s.
so be active in chat, go crazy, say how much you love us. If you don't mind me saying, hop over to our Twitch channel, maybe give us a follow or follow us on Twitter if you're really enjoying the conversation. That's about as much a sales pitch as I'll do today. It does come with the light. I did see one person, Menmore. It does absolutely come with the pen. It would be silly to give you a UV activated polyhedral dice set without a pen attached to it. So yes, it looks like Ulala 47. Congratulations. So
who needs a pen? You have the sun, right? Just
you have the sun. It's UV light.
Yeah, right. It's
Just stare through the dice into the sun is what.
That is how you do it. That's how the professionals do it, and they are the ones who know best.
So, well, since we are running up against the hour, and we respect Grant Ellis too much to burn him too much into the time. Any other parting words or stories? I'm surprised. I was like, how are we going to fill an hour with us just scooping around and talking? But time just flew like that.
I mean, we covered a lot of the major things, other than our partnership with Renegade, which we didn't really get into.
Yeah.
With as far as our stories, I mean, we kind of went all over the place. We didn't really go back in the olden times and move to present. Like we just kind of bebopped around. But obviously, our partnership with Scott, our partnership with Scott at Renegade has been wonderful. So I just want to say thank you to them
Scott,
too.
Sarah, all of you. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how much I appreciate the fact that, like, when we were at PAX Unplugged, Scott's like, so what's up? And I'm like, sup? And that legitimately was how the conversation started before we got into, we were looking for a new distribution partner, and he decided to come in on us. And it's been fun because we're very much like kind of sister companies now. Renegade is doing like Dual Wands, which is a kids on brooms system, and it's fun to see them take what they're good at, which is board and card, and going to town on that and taking that brand, and like it does a lot. Like the fact that they're going to introduce kids on brooms to like a board card audience, and then be able to maybe convert some of those people over to do brooms is a huge marketing opportunity for us. And at the same point, we're taking some of our properties and moving it over to some of their board card opportunities as well too. And we're just kind of like one of Scott's, and he's filled with licensing wisdom. He's got so much licensing wisdom. But one of the things that I always remember from him, it's like all sales boost sales. No matter where you are, no matter how you're doing it, is as long as you have business pick, as long as you have synergy, then everything, a rising tide floats all boats, right? Yeah, so it's been a very different attitude, because we were so used to doing everything on our own, and so having a partner has been like a new adjustment for us, but something that again, just like for our whole life, throughout our entire career, we are constantly learning. And that's the thing to be taken from this, is that we are never done. So, thoughts, buddy? Since
I'm being told by JB stuff, he's trying to get a hold of you. Sorry.
Is he trying to get a hold of me?
What do you
want? Okay, it'll be good. Oh, cool. So you have your closing thoughts, and then I'll say what JB, our stream team, trademark stream team.
No, just want to say thanks for listening in. It was fun just to reminisce a little bit about the last 10 years and kind of talk about a few things that happened, and go over what's happened with us and for ups and downs and all that. So
yeah, super fun. Thank you for joining us. If you would like to, Gen Con has graciously offered to raid the Hunters Entertainment Twitch channel. If you'd like to go over there and watch we're going to be doing a rebroadcast of the Alice's Missing world premiere Twitch stream. And if you want to see some unique, some unique technology and a brand new way in which to approach tabletop RPGs, I highly recommend you check it out. One of the things that we're doing as now Hunters Entertainment as we are asking people if they want to subscribe to support our amazing stream team as well as the hosts. We just recently brought aboard Markia McCarty to come and officially host a lot of our content. We're going to be streaming on Tuesdays and Saturdays every single week. You're going to be getting like behind the scene curtains on our development. We're going to talk about the process. So if you enjoyed this kind of talk, we're definitely going to be doing more stuff like this. So head on over there, give it a follow, click that raid button when we move things over, and go check out the rebroadcast of our newest game. And if for all of you out there who are backers and supporters of our Kickstarters, thank you. You are literally the reason we can continue to exist as a company, and we love you. So destroy all evil, purge all good, and we'll see you on the next stream. So